Welcome to Behind the Headlights, Speed Channel's documentary series that tells the stories of some very special automobiles. These are vehicles so unique that they changed history and impacted the moods and attitudes of generations. From the Nethercutt Museum in Sylmar, California,
I'm Bob Varsha. On this edition of Behind the Headlights, we focus on the most historically, politically, and sociologically significant car of the 20th century, President John F. Kennedy's 1961 Lincoln Continental convertible limousine. On November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, President Kennedy was riding in his custom-built Lincoln, known as X-100, when 3 gunshots rang out and history was changed forever. At the very least, it changed the way presidents and other dignitaries have traveled by automobile ever since. So what role did the car play in the tragic events of November 22, 63? Why was the convertible top that should have protected the most important man in the free world neatly tucked away in the trunk? And why was the car itself, literally part of a crime scene, whisked away and cleaned up so quickly after the assassination? In a moment, we'll explore those questions, and we'll discover why the X-100 limo came to represent both the power of the United States and its presidency all across the world. For those old enough to have witnessed the tragic events of that day, just seeing the limo once again provides a haunting reminder of that terrible moment in history.
In the late 1950s, Major League Baseball invaded California. Hula hoops took over the nation. Alaskans and Hawaiians were doing the twist as they joined the Union. The Supremes signed with an up-and-coming music company in Detroit known as Motown. Change was definitely in the air, especially in our nation's capital. Newly elected President John Kennedy, the youngest president ever, and his wife Jackie were the toast of the town. They were hypnotic, and America fell under their spell. It was the age of Camelot.
His rhetoric was very positive, upbeat, optimistic. He was very young and fresh. His wife was very young and fresh. They came from wealthy families, a very prominent family in the Northeast. So they brought with them this whole feeling of positive energy, positive change.
This inspirational couple raised hopes for all Americans. They would be chauffeured in a stylish automobile that symbolized a new generation, the 1961 Lincoln Continental convertible.
It's the perfect car for the Kennedy administration because it was an all-new car and sort of was a harbinger of this new styling.
Here we have a really stylish, beautiful automobile, sensation for the Ford Motor Company, that just fits this guy perfectly. The whole persona of Kennedy could be matched up to this car.
In contrast to other luxury cars of its era with their overstated fins, the 1961 Lincoln Continental was elegant and understated. There was nothing else like it on the road.
They're cars that have had a significant impact upon popular culture just for being the cars that they are. And the Kennedy limousine is one of those. It's famous because of its participation in that tragic event in 1963, but before then, that car was a sensation.
The 61 Continental that they developed for JFK would be the prize limousine of any presidential limousine, in my opinion.
But this elegant new Lincoln limo, known as X-100, would be left with a tragic legacy.
The Kennedy car was part of an event in which you can virtually identify a moment when history changes.
More than 40 years later, this 1961 Lincoln Continental convertible limousine peacefully resides at the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit. Although its appearance differs greatly from its original configuration, it still evokes strong memories and emotions.
When people see this car, if they're like me and they were old enough to have some actual memory of the assassination, it's a bit of a time machine. It actually pulls you back and rekindles all those memories.
John Kennedy's assassination was one of the most riveting and powerful incidents in American history.
Because he was killed in this car, everyone's image, I believe, of the assassination is this automobile. You can't see this presidential Lincoln, having lived through that era, without thinking of the assassination.
The car and the man are inextricably linked. The memories of one stirring images of the other.
The President Kennedy parade car is clearly one of the most significant cars in the past 100 years because it's a car everyone knows. Something horrible unfortunately happened in it.
The limousine is a symbol of that tragic day over 40 years ago. When you see all the films and photographs of the motorcade winding its way through the crowds in downtown Dallas and all, you always see the car.
John and Jackie Kennedy were regarded as royalty by most Americans, and their stylish new chariot, the X-100, came to symbolize the hopes and dreams of a nation as it carried the first family through a period of time now known as Camelot. For almost 100 years, American presidents have had luxury automobiles at their disposal. They were typically leased to the White House garage for a nominal fee by eager car companies hungry for the prestige. U.S. presidents helped to usher in the age of the automobile by embracing new technology.
The first time the American president used an official U.S. government White House automobile was when William Howard Taft got in the back of his new Pierce Arrow limousine and took a ride with his family to the inaugural ball the night he was inaugurated president on March 4, 1909.
Taft was the first guy that said that we need to get rid of the stables and start thinking about our future, and our future is in vehicles. But he had to convince the American people that he was riding the wave of the future. The president was a leader in letting Americans know that we're going to go away from the horse into the horseless wagon.
William Howard Taft loved whizzing down the road at a robust 60 miles per hour in his Model M touring car made by the White Company. His enthusiasm opened America's eyes to the viability of the automobile.
Nobody sold more cars and nobody got America more convinced of the automobile age than William Howard Taft.
But even Taft's love of this presidential perk was surpassed by Vermont's own Silent Cal.
President Coolidge loved his Lincoln limousine. The night before he leaves office, he calls up his Secret Service man and is worried about one thing and one thing only. Did you get the car? and the Secret Service man has to assure him at 10 o'clock, this guy's been working on all the security, making sure Pennsylvania Avenue is safe and every residence and every business has been checked out and all the background is done and all the manholes are covered and sealed, this and that, and the president's worried about his car, you know? So he loved that Lincoln limousine.
By the mid-30s, presidential limousines were no different than those owned by Rockefeller or Carnegie. That all changed in 1941 with the conversion of a standard 1939 Lincoln K convertible into a custom coach befitting royalty.
The Sunshine Special might be called the first monster presidential vehicle. It was a Lincoln K Continental convertible. It had this massive wheelbase, 160 inch, and it really and truly was a flying tank.
The Sunshine Special becomes a symbol of FDR himself. The name comes from the press corps, who dubbed it that, because what FDR did for America when he came into office in the middle of the Great Depression was, frankly, he didn't solve the economic crisis, but he put a smile on it.
By 1940, World War II was spreading throughout Europe, and protecting the president became the highest priority for the U.S. Secret Service.
The government doesn't order an entirely ballistic-proof automobile until